we had checked a couple of weeks ago about whether or not it'd be okay to just do a quick film of this for our students who are part of the Center for English Language programs. They are students who are on exchange programs, and the faculty just wanted to see a little bit about the conversation. So if you feel like you don't want to be on camera, stay on that side of the room. Stay behind the pillar or something like that. So this week, and by the way, we have great fair trade coffee from Clear Conscience Cafe. David Goldstein back there. Always love to have him. Welcome for our new folks. We just try to make sure we raise our hands. We try to be respectful. We try to chit chat as much as we can here. This week is what I'm calling Free Flow Friday. We just kind of open it up to a bunch of different issues that might be out there. We try to keep the issues more sort of global, national in scope. And what I would do is once we start beating a dead horse on something, we change the topics, all right? So I'm going to start with one topic. Let's see. I noticed that, and I don't know if you've seen in Massachusetts, there's been this really interesting case that's been brewing, and it's gotten some national attention. There's a guy who's out in Sudbury, a guy, I forget where he's from, but he looks like he might be Arab for all of us. It looks like he might be a Middle East persuasion. And here is what he is on federal trial for. Here's his crime. He is a guy who is an upstanding American. What he did was he was on the internet like everybody's on the internet, and he was pulling down some stuff that Al-Qaeda put out there. The wonderful thing that this guy has is the skill to translate things from what might be in Arabic to English. And he translated a bunch of things and put them back up on the web. The feds came in, locked him up, said, you are aiding and abetting terrorists, and we're going to put you under the jail forever. If we can get the death penalty for you, we're going to get it, because you are just as bad as the crew who was doing all this other stuff. So, Massachusetts is about to take down a true, real-life terrorist. Is anybody concerned about this? I know I am. So, tell us who you are. Tell us why.
Hi, my name is Michael. I am not sure, because this is the first time I'm hearing about it. I don't know if he is a terrorist, because in my mind, what you're explaining is his just free and correct and responsible freedom of speech, and under the First Amendment, he is allowed to do that. No matter where it comes from, that's still speech, that's still information, that's press. And I'm really upset that that somehow classifies him as aiding and abetting terrorism. Meanwhile, we keep firing people in the military who are Arabic speakers who could potentially help us decode and translate the same things that he was doing on his own. So is it because he just wasn't working for the military that they did this? Or is it just because they're afraid that a guy who kind of speaks Arabic and is of Middle East persuasion, as he's so kind of diplomatically said? It doesn't sit well with me.
Well, I want to remind you, free speech is not absolute. You can't just say what you want. There's certain things that are off limit. And look, bottom line is we live in a world where we've got a USA Patriot Act. And when you start saying things that help out bad guys like Al-Qaeda, and you post them back up on the web after you translate them, you might be running afoul of your limits of free speech.
But, okay, so there are limits on free speech. Like, there's the classic, the Supreme Court case of you can't shout fire in a crowded movie theater, because that just creates more harm than good. But, like, the Westboro Baptist Church is able to protest military funerals, and that's extremely offensive, and that hurts a lot of people, and the Supreme Court is standing by them and saying, well, that's free speech. And I disagree with them, and if I were really a judge and I had power over that, I'd say they should be put in jail. But I also have this voice in the back of my head that says, well, yeah, that's also free speech. So I don't understand how that's possible, and this guy can just translate stuff and then be thrown in jail and possibly be given the death penalty.
So my name is Jordan.
Jordan, a little louder, man.
Doesn't help that I'm below everyone. My name is Jordan. I'm a master's student at the Center for Energy and Environmental Studies. Before I begin, I want to say that I've heard a good amount about this story, and I really don't have a massive opinion one way or the other. I don't feel like I'm fully qualified to make any sort of ultimate judgment on this. But from what I've heard, that's more of the story is what he was translating, aside from various other Arabic texts, were Al-Qaeda training manuals, and that's one of the reasons why the U.S. is ticked. He's come out publicly declaring his admiration for Osama bin Laden, has started to do, I guess I couldn't say radical, but started altering his appearance more close to the fear-mongered version of a terrorist that a lot of us have in our heads. He's traveled to Yemen. His family says it was on Islamic religious studies. The U.S. government says, no, you were looking for a terrorist training camp. So there's more to it than just he was translating Arabic documents into English and putting them on the web. They were essentially saying, you're a wannabe terrorist that couldn't find the right training and couldn't do what he wanted to do. I believe there was also, unless I'm somehow confusing people, and maybe you can clarify on this.
I think you're right so far.
Is that he attempted to get the materials to create a weapon, but either couldn't obtain them or he didn't know how to use them. And this is another thing that the federal attorneys are trying to use against him.
Yeah, I think that's fallen out, that portion of it.
But
That's already been dealt with.
so let's say he was. You're still willing to dig a hole, throw him in it forever?
Well, I didn't say that either. I said I was more ambivalent either way because I don't feel I have enough information to make a solid judgment. I agree that it's certainly worth looking into, but I don't know all the matters. I'm simply trying to put out some more information for.
All right, Jordan, I'm going to make you the prosecutor right now. You are the United States Assistant Prosecutor, Assistant District Attorney. You are somebody who could show up and say, we need to haul you into court. Would you pull this guy out?
I wish it was
Drag
that
him out
easy
of
to
bed
get
like they
promoted
did?
in my other job.
What's that?
I wish I was that easy to get promoted in my other job.
Yeah. But would you drag him into court and say, Your Honor, people of Massachusetts, people of the United States, this guy is dangerous and he has got to go.
I
Just
think,
give him what you know.
based on what I know, I believe he has the potential to be dangerous, but that's my personal opinion.
We're not talking potential. You either bring him to court or not.
When it comes to whether I'm going to bring him to court or not, only if I feel that I have a slam dunk that I can convince the jury, yeah, he's a 100% danger to this country with what he was trying to do. At this point, with what I know, I don't think I have that evidence.
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm a senior in CAS, and
We could write fetching with that bow tie.
right back at you. So I think, and I know we've talked, like what I'm about to say, we've talked about it before in different situations, but it's a very different case. It's a very different circumstance when you're more closely involved than when you're looking at it from the outside in. So this guy was from Sudbury, Massachusetts, which is the town next to mine.
By the way, Sudbury, right? How people want to know about Sudbury?
I'm from the next town over. We have a rivalry. I don't want to get into it.
I'll say this. Milquetoast, man. Milquetoast is Sudbury.
Yeah, I know.
Barack Obama would have come from Sudbury.
Well, you know who lived in Sudbury? Well, Shaq lived across the street from the high school. So, yeah, from Lincoln Sudbury High School. Anyways, so the guy was from Sudbury, and the talk was that at some points he was talking about like trying to blow up a mall. That is the Natick Mall, which is on the other side of my town from Sudbury. So I've gone shopping there since I was like 4. Since before I was part of this 99%, before the 99% happened. So it's very different when you're part of it. Like I feel like they caught him. He's in prison. He's on trial. Whatever. I think that it should be proven in trial that he's if he's innocent, he should be proven innocent. Not
But
Whoa.
Adam, even go back, just the whole notion that bringing this guy in who translated and said a few things over the net, that doesn't worry you.
You know what? You know what? It worries me, but a lot of things worry me. A lot of things worry everybody. And I think that the concern that he translated what some people are saying is a few documents, but have been multiple times been linked to Al-Qaeda training materials or things of that nature. Like that worries me slightly more. That worries me slightly more that there's talk that he was trying to blow up the mall in the town next to mine. The town that, the mall that, like, I mean, I don't want to say was my stomping ground, but, yeah.
Hi, I'm Luke. I'm a sophomore in CAS. Don't know all the details on the case, but if I could just focus on the matter of him translating documents, Al-Qaeda training manuals into English from French.
Bad stuff.
Or from Arabic. 1970s, a French dude wrote a book about the Holocaust. And he said, he didn't deny that it happened, but he said that the numbers are wrong. And he was crucified for this, and probably rightfully so. Scholarship is kind of shoddy. But they tried to censor him, essentially. And Noam Chomsky wrote a foreword for that book. And it wasn't substantially the claims that he made in the book about the Holocaust. It was about what it means to have freedom of speech. Okay? And it means that freedom of speech is understanding most people is understanding that I do not know everything, I will never know anything, and I cannot be sure of anything. Therefore, I need a plethora of other opinions, of alternative opinions, to have access to. Okay? And Chomsky was also crucified for this, called anti-Semitic, Holocaust denier. But the principle stands. Okay? And it's not just Chomsky, it's John Stuart Mill, it's George Orwell. The principle that we cannot censor ourselves, we cannot assume that we know everything, that the dominant discourse in the Western world is right because in the Western world we have like laptops and stuff. Okay, we can't limit ourselves to that. We have to be open to other opinions. I'd like to remind you of Orwell's ignorance is knowledge. Not true. Not true at all. Okay? Ignorance is not bliss. It may allow us to rationalize some of the decisions we make, but if you're seeking a higher understanding of how the world works, you cannot be ignorant, you cannot censor opinions that you do not like.
Look, what do you say to those folks who say, hey, this guy was putting out training manuals about how to kill us, right? Because that's what they're probably going to say. That's what the prosecutor's going to say. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this guy is trying to kill us. And not only is he trying to kill us, he's trying to make sure that there are more people have access to information about how to kill us. Not only that, he's probably trying to activate a bunch of sleeper cells out there. Not only that, there are probably more Al-Qaeda in this country than there are in Afghanistan. And so we cannot let somebody sit in the comfort of their home in Sudbury, Mass, knowing full well that what he's doing is inciting people, knowing full well that somebody's going to get hurt based upon his speech. We got to limit this somewhat. I mean, what do you say to that?
I would say that an individual attempts to be principled. Principles are applied universally. Okay, and if you're willing to do that, you are willing to censor me if I advocate for the usage of cocaine because the people that are profiting from my buying cocaine happen to be terrorists in Colombia. Or if I talk about heroin, that the people that are profiting from the heroin I buy happen to be terrorists in Afghanistan. Okay, I would say that if you're going to have principles, if that's what this nation is about, they have to be applied universally. And it's a slippery slope, very much so. Okay. Look at the Patriot Act, right? Like,
it's the law. Okay. Anybody think that this guy should be able to just walk out of court? Somebody should just say, forget it, we're not even going to take him to court.
I mean, hi, my name is Tino. I'm a junior in CAS. I guess my concern isn't. I think that I don't think that we should necessarily. I agree with Luke that we can't just censor him because we have an inkling. I do think that he's worth keeping an eye on just because I think if you're recreationally translating Al-Qaeda documents, there might be. I mean, no, but if you're a translator and you're into translating, and that's just what you do as a hobby. I feel like there are other things that you could be translating. It just seems like if you chose to recreationally translate Al-Qaeda documents, that you might have certain persuasions towards those. I feel like it's not just the kind of thing that you stumble upon and think, oh hey, this looks like fun, you know? Unless you're just interested in that particular set of vocabulary. So I think that he's worth keeping an eye on, and I mean, we have.
But what's that mean, though?
I
say fire the prosecutor. I say if I'm Eric Holder, I call the prosecutor and say, what? WTF, man? What are you doing? This is America. You can't be detaining this guy on this. Let him go.
Well, no, I agree with that. He hasn't, quote unquote, done anything.
Well, yes, he has.
Well, no, he's translated, but he hasn't killed anyone. He hasn't killed anyone, and as of yet, we don't have anyone that says, I killed all these people because I had these translated manuals from this guy. Well, I guess if they're suicide bombers, they can't say that. But there's no evidence that he directly caused the death of other people yet. So far, he's just translated, which is why I say we have agencies, and they can keep an eye on him, and they can do their computer stuff. They have keys for that. And so, I mean, I just don't think that we should be prosecuting him because, like Luke said, if we're going to have these principles, then we should apply them universally. But that doesn't mean that we can't keep an eye on him, because they keep an eye on all of us anyway.
Yeah. This guy's like a nobody. Yeah, so I'm Riley. Hi guys, seen you. Been coming here for a while. This guy's a nobody. Like, he's a terrorist, maybe lackey. Like, and as far as like what he's done, like I'm kind of interested in maybe what a Al-Qaeda training packet might look like. Like, do you guys have no interest in like reading this stuff? Like, it's pretty cool. Like, if it was an Arabic,
have you read it?
No, I haven't. But like, I'm interested now to maybe read it. Like, I kind of see what's going on. Like, I'm curious as to what it would be. I doubt it's like. I mean, I don't know how I want to get into this, but like, I bet there's a lot of cool stuff in there that we wouldn't think about. That's like good for our education, and like, there's no potential. I don't think there's many potential terrorists in America, Al-Qaeda terrorists in America, that don't speak Arabic. They're gonna be all of a sudden like, whoa, training manuals in English, bingo. Like, it's just like this guy just did this. It's like, okay, fine, like, enjoy your life. Like, okay, whatever.
Hi. Okay, I'm Callie. I'm a freshman in comm. I guess my viewpoint on the whole thing is kind of against what he's saying. If they do let, like what you said, him off the hook, I guess my struggle would be how comfortable will we be as American citizens knowing that someone like that gets off the hook that is possibly, even just possibly, a threat to our national security. So I guess my question is even though I feel he shouldn't go to court and be prosecuted to death or to how many years in jail or whatever, what extent of supervision does a man like this need in order for us as citizens to feel safe? I guess how should he be limited in the way he lives his life, knowing that he's gone through with this and knowing that now it has national news coverage so people know who he is and people have determined a judgment on him on how they feel. What should the government do in order to make sure we feel safe?
You care to answer that question?
No.
Hi, Rhiannon, sophomore comm. At this point, I just want to ask, how is this any different than if I were to go on Amazon right now and buy the Anarchist Cookbook and start reading it? And, somebody saw that I did that, and then am I suddenly a threat to national security because I'm reading about ways to make bombs? I'm kind of with Jordan. I don't have a completely, gung-ho opinion about this, but I think it sets a questionable precedent depending on what we do here.
Yeah, Miss Calvin. I was gonna say that I guess the problem is like attempt to treason. Like, I'm not sure if that's like against the law. But I guess like the problem.
Attempted treason.
Yeah, is that
treason's treason?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the problem is like him inciting like all these like people that haven't really come to that are like looking to become terrorists, I guess, and him inciting them by translating. But it's like you said, people are looking for that sort of stuff. Learning Arabic is not gonna be a problem. And what is that, learn a new language for $200 bucks?
You can come do Redstone free right here.
Yeah, like, I don't know, I feel like, I guess the problem is, like, people are worried that other people are going to be, like, incited by his movement. But I mean, like, maybe the problem is, like, what is it people are trying to, like, what would bring somebody to, like, go for that sort of, like, lifestyle? Like, what is the problem in this society?
Well, you know, people are going to say, I'm not worried about that. The prosecutor's going to say, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried that the American public and the people, good people in Massachusetts, and the good people in Sudbury are really scared of this kind of stuff. And we got to do something to assure these folks that people like this in our midst don't get a free pass, don't get a chance to keep doing this sort of stuff. I mean, that's what the prosecutor's thinking about. And you know, the question I'm asking is that unreasonable? And if it's not unreasonable, then we should be able to put up with him going into a courtroom and us ferreting it out with fellow citizens saying this guy's either on the path to being a terrorist or he's not.
My name's Eric. I'm a junior in comm. I kind of agree with a lot of this, but this dude lives in Sudbury, Mass, and I've never been to Sudbury in all actuality, but I can imagine from what you told me, it's a lot like a few neighborhoods near back home in Kansas, and
yeah, it's about as close as Massachusetts got to Kansas.
No, we got some nice neighborhoods. But there you go.
Midwest a lot.
Anyway, one, I am interested in reading this now. I think that'd be cool to read. I'm with Riley. Print me off a copy, I'd read it. I got one. Okay, there you go. Two, I would honestly be very surprised if he's the first guy ever who decided to translate this. I'd be really surprised. I bet somebody else did it. If you want to monitor him, give him a Gmail account. It's pretty simple. We'll just have Google do it for us. Yeah.
Hey, my name's Sharif. So I think we're dealing with two scary things right now. One scary thing is obviously this guy, the potential terrorist. During the prosecution cross-examined one of his friends who admitted that both of these guys aspired to be like Al-Qaeda, who looked up to Osama bin Laden. They called him their father. So yes, there's some malicious intent there, very clearly, and that's scary.
And you know what I'm going to say, so what?
And the second scary thing is that in 2006, the FBI went into his house when he wasn't in there and wiretapped him and looked at all his documents and his computer because of the Patriot Act. So now we're dealing with two problems. One, what is the jurisdiction of our government, or what should the jurisdiction be to go into our lives and monitor us without any sort of warrant? And two, how do we deal with this security threat of someone who clearly doesn't, who's a clear danger to us, but has done nothing wrong yet? I'm willing to say that if you go on the internet and look up other websites, like white supremacy websites, you'll find people that are plotting to kill Obama, who are plotting to kill many other leaders, and we don't go and arrest them, so you can't arrest this guy. But that's just me. I'm willing to take that dangerous decision because I value freedom more than I value being scared, you know, security.
What's going on? My name is Brandon. So it sounds like, these manuals were translated in English. I mean, that sounds like a benefit to us, so now we know their plans. So in doing this, we actually have knowledge of their plans and everything. Sounds like a win for counterterrorism in my book.
I'm Zach. I'm a freshman in GCAS. I'm just wondering, why aren't we laughing at this guy? I mean, in all honesty, he failed at like everything he did. He actually helped us, like Brandon said, by translating things into English so we can read them now. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like what would be really, really helpful is not necessarily to throw him in on all these pumped up charges. It would be to get him in court on charges that you could actually try him for, and then call in Jon Stewart or someone just to make fun of him. I feel like that would be so much better for us dealing with terrorism as a phenomenon.
I think one issue that, so my name is Santiago Gomez. I'm a junior in the College of Arts and Sciences. One issue that's underlying this whole thing, it's racism. And the fact that he was arrested because, or he was Arab and therefore or Arab meaning.
I don't think they arrested him because of that.
No, there's profiling there. It's equivalent to the same thing saying that, you know, I'm a cop and I'm gonna stop a black man driving and maybe I find marijuana.
Sudbury, by the way.
No, I'm just saying there's a level of profiling in this case that should, and whether he's guilty or not, that doesn't matter. There's, you know, we still need to be conscious of the fact that there's still a level of racism, and, which is, you know, it manifested in the profiling of the case.
But how do you know that, though?
It's simple. It's very simple. Because let's put it this way: how about we put a white professor from Boston University translating all the Al Qaeda literature that was out there? I would bet money that there wouldn't be as much backlash against that professor saying that it's for academic reasons than as there was against this one single man. It's point blank racial profiling at play. Whether he's guilty or not, separate question.
Hi, I'm Amelia. I'm a freshman in Shaw, and the one thing I really am kind of annoyed by this conversation is we don't know all the information.
Oh, Santiago drops a bomb and then he like
it's like a mic drop. So we don't know all the information. A prosecutor does not present all the information to the people because they just don't. So we're not going to sit here and talk about it all, being like, oh, well, we're going to do this and this, because we don't know all the information. He could have done 20 other things that we don't know about, like this information could have led to a death or something like that. But we don't know.
Shouldn't we know, though?
No,
the prosecutor, the United States prosecutor, stands in for us, not for anybody else. He's doing it for us. Well, and I should be able to go to his office and say, hey, listen, I'd like to just see what's going on. That's why we let cameras into the courtroom. That's why we have reporters reporting on it. Yeah, shouldn't I be able to go and say, hey, Mr. Prosecutor, just got a quick question here. I want to take a look at everything. And not only that, I want to critique you, too, for what you're doing.
Well, you can go to the trial if you want. Trials are open to people. You can go to the Supreme Court. You can go into the thing if you want, but they're not going to release all the information to the public. Half of the information is probably false because the reporters are twisting it to make it seem worse than it is. And, like, we're going to sit here and be like, oh, it's this and this and this, but really, it's probably just a terrorist.
Hi, I'm Jeff. I'm a sophomore in SED, and I like what Amelia was saying because at the end of the day, the prosecutor's job is to get the guy convicted, and the defense attorney's job is to get the guy off. So they're both trying to do their jobs. They're going to give the information that helps them win the case. But I really like what Tarif said earlier about where's the line between security and freedom. I don't like the Patriot Act. That scares me. That scares me as much as people threatening me from halfway across the world. But giving up everything, giving up all of that also scares me because that opens up it opens up a few more cracks in the wall. So I want to know, where do you think the line is between going after this guy before he has done something? Is it okay to wait until he has done something and then, like, okay, he's definitely guilty, he's definitely a terrorist, but people are harmed? Is that right to wait for that? Where's the line?
That's the line we gotta draw, my friend.
My name is Prithvi, CS freshman. I don't know much about this case, but I don't feel that they have enough evidence to convict him. And I always believe that America believes in presumption of innocence, which is you're innocent until you're proven guilty.
We used to believe in that. Or did we ever believe in that? That's always my question.
I always thought America believes in that.
You've been watching too much TV.
My name is Joe. I'm a senior in school management. I think what's interesting in this case is like kind of how the U.S. legal system works. There's a lot of the role of intent is pretty big in our legal system. So if you run somebody over with a car, that can be either murder, it can be murder in the second degree, first degree, it can be manslaughter. You could end up framing criminal insanity and get off with nothing. And so that seems like a really big issue in this case is what was his intent behind publishing these documents? Was he somebody who's trying to, play it like Sun Tzu and get to know his enemy, or was he trying to create more terrorists in the world? That's not something that we can really know until he's questioned and, hopefully done in a manner that is concurrent with Geneva Convention principles, but probably won't be. And so it's an interesting question of like, what was his intent, and are we ever going to really know that? But that'll be central to determining whether he's proven innocent or guilty.
I'm Courtney, I'm a junior in CAS. I agree that we have to be careful about censorship, and there might be an element of race here that we need to look at more. But at the same time, I don't feel like the fear of what this guy's doing is totally illogical and unwarranted. I feel like if you look at 9/11, there were so many warning signs that we missed, and I feel like even though I do worry about issues with censorship and things like that, but at the same time, it's like if you don't pay attention and you miss the signals, and something happens, how do you rationalize it? It's kind of like what Tariq was saying, where's the line? So I just wanted to put that out there.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a junior in CAS, and I wanted to start by sharing one of my favorite Benjamin Franklin quotes. And it's, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." And I think that most importantly, we have to remain true to what we believe as a country. And if he has broken the law, we should prosecute that. But if we're doing this just because we think that, maybe potentially he could be a threat, or we're willing to give up essential values that we believe in, like freedom of speech or innocent until proven guilty, then that's wrong, and we should avoid that as much as we can. Because when we start to give up what we believe in, then, that's the end of it all, really. What would we stand for after that? So
Okay, I'm calling a new subject. Floor is open. Who's got something new? If not, I got something.
Legalization of marijuana.
All right, when's the Occupy crew going to become a movement? That's what I want to find out.
Yeah, Goldstein. Stand up.
Cut this interesting story about Occupy Boston. By the way, I'm Dan Goldstein from Clear Conscience Cafe. So one of the consequences of Occupy Boston is that people have been responding with support by coming down and giving material things, and then all of a sudden checks started rolling in. Right? So all of a sudden Occupy Boston has $400,000 worth of receivables in an account. And I think that the idea of having responsibility for finance, and currently my understanding is that it's managed in a way that says anything above $100 expenditure requires a consensus decision. And that has become a bureaucratic mire to moving the ball. And now you're confronted with the challenge of, do you form a hierarchy or not? My prediction is that there's no way to avoid creating the hierarchy. I think once there's a hierarchy, you'll see this move from what I celebrate as people expressing their anger with peace and nonviolence to a social movement.
Brandon. Oh, I was just going to say that this is the second time we're talking about this at Coffee and Cabo, and I think there's a rule out there. If you talk about anything more than once at Coffee and Cabo, it becomes really, really important. Things become really, really important.
It's in the news.
It's a movement.
Go.
So, that's my reason for
I
it.
Okay.
So you want to talk about money as an issue? I was down there last night, and I found, it's a funny story. The reason I went down there was because I found a box of food from the farmer's market yesterday, put next to my bike with a note in there that says, "Please deliver this to Dewey Square." So
you just found that?
I found it. It was from one of the vendors at the farmer's market. I don't know who, and it just said, "Please deliver it to Dewey Square."
Did you inspect that?
I did not.
Okay.
I had no idea. I thought that somebody had left some trash next to my bike, and that's pretty common. So I went down to Dewey Square after strapping the box to my bike with my belt. I went down to Dewey Square. Wasn't planning on it. Get down there, bring it to the food tent, and they say to me, "Thank goodness you brought it when you did. We're starting to run low on food." So if they have $400,000 in their to their name, how is it that they're running out of food? Like they're getting excited. I was down there and I saw they were getting excited when people were bringing pizzas. Which, if they have $400,000, they should be able to like bathe in pizzas. So there is. I agree with Dan. There is going to be some sort of hierarchy, and that's going to turn Occupy Boston, Occupy Wall Street, the whole movement on its head, because it's going to go from this leaderless movement to this leaderful movement.
Tell us who you are.
Sorry, my name's Helen. I'm a senior.
Helen, give us a little more volume.
My name's Helen. I'm a senior in CAS. Can we talk about what's going on in Oakland right now with the?
Yeah. True Boston.
First off, tell us a little bit about what that means. I'm not sure everyone's following.
Well, I'm from the Bay Area, and the fact that so few people are talking, the fact that someone had to tap me on the shoulder in class because she knew I was from the Bay Area to tell me, hey, do you know what's going on in Oakland? Last week, the fact that nobody's looking at these videos of people getting hurt, like. I have people in the protest, and then I have a next door neighbor who's an Oakland cop. So I'm getting both sides of this really scary confrontation that's going on.
What's the confrontation?
Tear gas, rubber bullets, like groups of people that are following nonviolent protesters and making it into this awful violent thing, like storefronts getting broken into. I mean, I think it was yesterday they shut down the port. So, yeah, like big stuff is going on, and not that many people are talking about it. Or maybe it's just not.
So what's your concern?
My concern is that when is it not a nonviolent movement anymore, or is it people taking over this nonviolent movement and making it violent? And the decisions going on with cops shooting, rubber bullets in the crowd.
It's a nonviolent movement, but you don't want to go to a gunfight tonight.
Yeah.
I have more information on Oakland. Yeah, yesterday there was a general strike called in Oakland. There's about 30,000 people in the streets in Oakland yesterday. For those of you who don't know what a general strike is, it's when nobody goes to work and they go into the streets and voice their concerns. They shut down the port there and everything. What happened last week in Oakland, they took over the park and they were asked to leave. Time and time again, they were non-violent, absolutely non-violent, and they were attacked with tear gas, rubber bullets. There was an Iraqi veteran there named Scott Olson, who served 2 tours in Iraq, a 24-year-old, and he was shot in the head with a tear gas canister, knocked cold onto the ground, and while he was on the ground, a flashbang grenade went off right next to his head. And he suffered skull fractures, was put into a coma, and he has lost the ability to speak. He's waking up from the coma, but has lost his ability to speak. The protesters down there are non-violent. I was in the streets yesterday. The number one concern that everyone talks about, and the number one tactic that everybody talks about when they're down there is non-violence. We're not trying to hurt the people in the community, and the community that we're trying to fix.
Which is? What's the community you're trying to fix?
Everything. The Occupy Boston, Occupy DC. These places where we're occupying. We're not trying to hurt them, but we need our voices heard.
So let me ask you this. Why has not Barack Obama called a joint session of Congress and said, we got to do something, folks. This is just clearly way over the edge. We obviously have to stop what we're doing and figure this all out. Why has he not done this at all? He's gonna give him a little lukewarm praise because everybody's got to do it now. It's like a telethon. You gotta say, yeah, I gave a little bit. I'm all for it. Go ahead. Yeah. But is there something bizarre about the President of the United States By the way, a guy who for a long time called himself a community organizer. A guy who, by right, would say, I used to organize stuff like this. I used to encourage people to do something like this. Why is it that Barack Obama has not stepped out of the office and called people up and said, I need to see you tomorrow night, joint session, we gotta talk about this. What's up with your boy?
Hi, I'm Jenny, I'm a sophomore at CAS. First of all, I think it's pretty hard to call Occupy Boston and say, well, what are we gonna do about this when Occupy Boston, a lot of factions of it have not given a specific demand of what they want. Some factions of Occupy Boston, and Occupy Wall Street and all of them, some people in there are very determined not to end up with something like that because they say we cannot come up with a goal that would represent the entire 99%. We ought to end the greed, which is part of the reason I personally feel that the movement hasn't managed to change that much yet. It's because they don't want to have a leader, and every single person has an equal voice, and when you have that, you have anarchists, you have socialists, you have all kinds of other people from different parties, and any one person can speak for it and has a very different perspective of how to end it. With that said, also, obviously, Obama has a re-election coming up right now, and it's not, and it's not the best time to go, oh gee, you know, everyone's protesting.
Jenny, are you serious?
No, really?
So you're gonna vote for a guy who's gonna put expediency in his own
I didn't
hide?
say who I was voting for.
All right. Yeah, but I bet plenty of people will. They're gonna they'll let this guy be expedient because you know it's not the right time. By the way, you know, well, isn't this like a year away from the election? So we gotta put up with this crap for another year of people doing nothing.
But I mean, let's be honest for a minute. It's really like cool to be in Boston University and say, oh yeah, everyone knows about Occupy. But if you go over to Roxbury, if you go over to East Boston, Somerville, there's a ton of people who don't know about it. If you go outside of cities, there's a ton of people who don't know about it. There's a huge faction of the U.S. that doesn't read the news at all. There are people in this room who don't read the news at all. And when it comes down to it, a lot of people in America don't think this is that big a deal yet. We do because we're living in a city and surrounded by college students involved in it, and we happen to be involved in the Howard Thurman Center and happen to have been here probably a few weeks ago when there was a big talk about this. But to a lot of people, this isn't as big an issue as we see it as. Now, whether they're right or wrong, you know, we have to wait for time to show that.
Are we letting Barack off the hook?
No.
By what?
By not demanding that this dude do something.
Well, I mean, everyone has a different perspective of what he should do. I mean, what can you do with a movement that doesn't seem to be giving a clear demand of what it wants when your Congress is already bought out by the people who they're fighting, and they haven't given a clear way that the Congress could or should get out of it anyway.
Hey, by the way, when you are also taking more money from the very people that you got problems with in the first place too, right?
Exactly.
By the way, we gave him a pass on that. Did you notice how we gave Barack Obama a pass on all that corporate cash he picked up? He got a pass. It was a one-day story, little thing, and then the next day we're like, hey, my man Barack, what's going on, man?
I was actually gonna. My name's actually 2014. I was gonna say the same thing. We totally did give him a pass. The reason that Barack has
By the way,
not.
you know when we gave him a pass? Can I just go back a little bit? Tell you when we gave him a pass. We gave him a pass when he was running for president, and he decided not to take the federal limits on campaign bucks, and he decided, I'll just take all the money I can get. That's when he got a pass. We were hypocrites from day one, and we're still hypocrites with this guy, and he's still being a hypocrite, and you all love him.
He raised so much money from Wall Street, and that's not something that the Occupy movement isn't behind. It doesn't endorse Obama, and that's something to keep in mind. Now, the reason why none of these politicians have courted the movement yet is because of political calculations, right? Occupy Boston may have $400,000 in the bank, but it's not spending it on lobbying, and it's not spending it to go to these fundraising dinners, right? And that's something that they are keeping into account. But if it gets the political power in the sense of people, in the sense of attention, in the sense of discussion of issues to be courted, that's where it's countering, that's where we're fighting the system. So as a movement, will it get a leader and will it get a political party and these things? I can't guarantee that. I can't say that it's necessarily going to happen. But I don't think it's wrong to try. I think it's a beautiful thing that they're trying to do. And I think that if it does get the attention, if it does get the respect, and if it does win the hearts of people through nonviolence, and through commitment, through staying through the winter, and through suffering tear gas, and through suffering rubber bullet attacks, it will win the hearts of the people, and it will win the attention of the people, and it will win political attention, and has a possibility to fix the problems of America.
Speak up.
Hey, you gotta be a little louder.
Sorry. I think that...
Tell us who you are. Just gotta be loud about it.
I'm Crystal. I'm in CAS, majoring in IR, and CFA minoring in performance theater. I think the reason that Obama has yet to make any sort of declarative comment about Boston, or the Occupy movement in general, two reasons. One, there's no sort of definitive statement as to what the goal is. It's sort of one of these, you know, there are a lot of problems that trying to fix everything at once sort of situations. And number two, oh sorry, there were three. Number two, this is going to sound really bad, but Obama has a lot of problems going on right now that he has to worry about, including but not limited to the wars that we're fighting, included but not limited to bills that he's trying to get passed, including a jobs bill which Congress won't pass. So I mean, it's not to say that he necessarily opposes the fact that people are disgruntled, it's just that three, he doesn't want his name on this movement. Because if he goes on television and he says, I, you know, the president support the Occupy movement, then he has to take responsibility for Oakland. He has to take responsibility for the Marine that was attacked. He has to take responsibility for the tear gas. He has to take responsibility for all the What?
You wanted to be president 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you want to take responsibility?
So are you going to take responsibility for it?
What I'm saying is, Obama is not, he's the president, but it's not necessarily within his presidential jurisdiction, I think, to make such a declarative statement, because he's representing people who, at this moment, are not clear as to what it is that they want. So I think it's politically risky for him. Not just is it risky, but it's also, he can't support a movement that does not necessarily know what it represents.
Barack Obama doesn't know what the hell's going on.
He knows what's going on.
We know what the problem is. He knows what the problem is.
He gets it. I'm saying though, it's not. I guess I'll speak for my personal opinion. It's not so crucial right now that he should make any sort of. I don't think he owes it to us to say I support Occupy Boston or Occupy anything, because he. I don't think it's his. I don't think it's his issue right now. Like, I don't think it's fair for him to have to take the fall almost, because if this thing goes violent, if it gets more violent, which it already has in Oakland, if it multiplies into this massive violent sort of mob, which it has the potential to become if people aren't careful, then that's on Obama's like record, and he has nothing to do with that.
He's going to be on it anyway. He owns it whether he thinks so or not.
So the thing that I take exception to is your question, you know, are we giving him a pass on this? Because you use the word we and we have no idea what the definition of that is. You know, you say, the implication of that question is that we are giving him a pass, but if Occupy Boston actually does represent the 99%, which I take total exception to because I'm definitely not one of the top 1% richest people in the country, and I definitely don't think Occupy Boston talks for me, then we aren't giving him a pass at all. We're, you know, yelling louder than ever, and he's just not paying attention. And on the other hand, you know, I don't feel like I'm giving him a pass because I don't, you know, give a whole lot of credit to the Occupy movement in the first place. I think it'll fizzle out in the not too distant future. I don't think it'll go anywhere. In which case, why would I expect him to do anything about it? Because the idea right now is, well, maybe it just won't exist soon enough and it won't have been a problem in the first place.
Hey, Ox, what do you say to folks who will say that movements actually start well before we call them that, right? Give you an example.
True.
Give you an
Agreed.
example. Montgomery bus boycott.
Yeah.
That got a name. That got a name so far after what had happened, right? Regular people just decided that they would talk to each other, buzz, 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 buzz. Don't take the bus. Don't take the bus. Walk, 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 walk. And lots of people were doing that for months. I think it was about 8 months before Martin Luther King even showed up.
So
so is there a possibility that maybe that's happening right now?
Who called it the Montgomery bus movement? Or Montgomery bus
History
boycott?
a long time later.
Okay, history a long time later, but who was history? Was it reporters started using the term? Was it history books started using the term?
Probably reporters.
Because I I could be wrong, and I'm not even going to say that I stick to the opinion, so it's not even a question of whether I'm wrong or right. It could be that this is a movement, and we find out later on that, you know, Occupy X was a huge thing, and it was pivotal for our country and whatever. And in hindsight, that'll be really obvious and clear. And I think maybe this is a movement that started, you know, well before it had a name, because clearly there was deep-seated discontent among the general citizenry of our country for so many people to show up once it, you know, it hit critical mass quick, you know? So, yeah, maybe it was a movement before it got a name. But then they also named it themselves, you know? It wasn't reporters graffiti tagging Occupy Boston on the T and on bridges. You know, it was Occupy Boston protesters. So I don't think you can say that it's a movement. Because I watched them. That's how I know. You know?